I don't like anybody telling me what to do. And lately, the left wants to tell everybody, it's the we all know this. You should. Stop telling me what to do. You go do it. You want to support stuff that the government should stay out of? You go do it. No one's stopping you from paying more taxes. I've got.
Hollywood's go-to anti-woke comedian has been fearlessly exposing the industry's darker side for years, never shying away from saying what others avoid. Now he's made another bold statement, and the backlash is fierce. So, what truth did he just reveal about Hollywood? And how did the industry respond? If you've been online, you already know Tim Allen doesn't mince words. He's the type to fire off a controversial tweet, sit back, and watch the woke crowd spiral. It's not his first time, and it definitely won't be his last. But this time, his latest post hit harder than ever, and everyone's buzzing about it.
I mean, first of all, he wants to know what the face of woke look like, and here's what I picture. These trolls that hide behind their computer or their screens and their laptops and their keyboards, because those are the people that complain the most, those whose faces we do not.
The response was nothing short of chaotic. A single tweet was enough to send Twitter into a frenzy, with users instantly losing their cool over Tim Allen's bold call-out. It didn't take long for the cancel campaign to kick into high gear. But, let's be honest, Tim has never been one to cave under pressure or let the woke crowd silence him. If anything, their outrage only motivates him to speak out even more.
Disturbing on a fundamental level, it's gotten to the point where literally there's part of me, a deep part of me, that just, F it, bring it on. If you want to cancel me, go ahead. I mean, I can't.
That's not the only reason woke Hollywood is in an uproar. Tim Allen has been pushing their buttons for years, and by now he's perfected the craft of setting them off. Just look at his recent Disneyland trip. It wasn't just an ordinary outing. It quickly became another moment where Tim sparked controversy, and as usual, the woke crowd completely lost it.
I'm not a toy. You are a toy. Oh.
While strolling through the park, Tim overheard a 13-year-old jokingly wondering if liking skillets made him pansexual. True to form, Tim couldn't resist sharing the moment. As expected, the backlash was swift, with the woke crowd accusing him of being insensitive. But let's face it, Hollywood has always had an issue with Tim Allen. Why? Because he's never been afraid to raise the uncomfortable questions they'd rather avoid.
Do you still enjoy stand-up, my friend, as much as you did in the early days?
There's moments that it's more. It reminds me of my anarchist background.
Hollywood has made countless attempts to cancel Tim Allen, but he refuses to play by their rules. Remember when ABC abruptly canceled Last Man Standing? It wasn't just any show. It was one of their highest rated. So why shut it down out of nowhere? Many believe the decision had little to do with ratings and everything to do with politics.
Man standing. Congrats on this.
No, thanks very much.
I watched it when it was on ABC, right. And then all of a sudden it wasn't on ABC.
Tell the 300 of the crew and everybody the same thing. We're all going, this is the best show I've ever been on. What? We're off the air.
Yeah,
We all thought we were at the top of their game at ABC. Who knows how networks work? I don't know, but it was dropped.
It was ABC's second most popular sitcom, right behind Modern Family. Yet they cut it without hesitation. Why? Because Tim Allen had the audacity to play a relatable conservative character on primetime television, something Hollywood simply couldn't stand.
Hey, come on here, so touch anything. Right, and I don't like gum in there too, but all right, when we're driving around, what do other people do when they see it?
They do this.
You know why they do that? This truck is older than you, but it's a classic. People realize it's a classic. And you're a classic too.
How flattering. I'm an old truck.
In Hollywood, that's a major taboo. As Tim Allen himself put it, nothing is more threatening in today's culture than a conservative who's both funny and likable.
The presidential inauguration.
I was invited by, we did a VIP thing for the vets and went to the Veterans Ball. And so I went to go see Democrats and Republicans. Yeah, I went to the inauguration.
I'm not attacking
You get this down. I'm not getting, you gotta be real careful around here. You get beat up. You don't believe what everybody believes. It's like 30s Germany. I don't know what happened. If you're not part of the group, you know what we believe is right. I go, well, I'm not the problem with that. I'm a comedian. I like going on both sides.
Yeah.
This government does stuff big. I've never been to anything.
Tim made no effort to conceal the truth. His political views were clearly the problem. But rather than staying silent, he spoke out. Here's the twist. While ABC dropped Last Man Standing, Fox quickly swooped in and gave the show a new home, allowing Tim to continue connecting with his audience, In the end, ABC's attempt to silence him backfired, and Tim came out on top.
Everybody, welcome to season 7 of Flat. All right, here we go. Here we go, Cloudy folks. All right, here we go from the top.
Then there's his new show, The Santa Clauses, on Disney+. The very fact that Disney brought him back shows they understand Tim isn't going anywhere. They might attempt to silence him, but they also realize his dedicated fan base is something Hollywood can't afford to overlook.
Christmas for us, then this guy. For nearly 30 years, Tim Allen has become synonymous with Santa Claus.
I'm in big trouble.
After starring in the 1994 classic film.
Merry Christmas to all.
Things took a turn in The Santa Clauses when Tim's character cracked a harmless joke about saying Merry Christmas, only to discover it's now considered controversial. That single line sent woke Twitter into an uproar, with some labeling it offensive and others calling it politically charged. But let's be honest, it's The Santa Clauses, a show about Christmas. A Christmas joke should be the last thing to spark outrage.
Peyton's on the show, but I'm dressed as Santa Claus. So he's doing the same look to me. He's going, I go, no, man, I'm a fan, but I'm under 7 feet of makeup. And I was like a kid.
The backlash was intense. It all started when podcaster and filmmaker Scott Weinberg tweeted about the joke, and the internet exploded. Critics accused Tim of injecting right-wing politics into Christmas, but the real issue runs deeper. Tim isn't just facing Twitter outrage. Hollywood itself seems designed to silence voices like his. As Tim puts it, the thought police are everywhere, constantly monitoring what people say.
And then what I got to do sometimes is explain, which I hate in big arenas, that this is a thought police thing, and I do not like it. But when I use these words, this is my intent behind those words.
He's often forced to clarify his intentions, something he openly despises. Tim has been vocal about how political correctness has transformed comedy, making it nearly impossible for comedians to take creative risks. He admits it's impacted his own work, despite being inspired by legends like Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce, comedians known for pushing boundaries and challenging comfort zones.
So, you know, Tim, you and I both started stand-up comedy in the 80s.
And Leno says hi, by the way.
Oh, Jay Leno, my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And still, you're still doing it, right?
44 cities, it's finished.
See what I mean by the hardest working man?
Reflecting on his career, Tim often mentions how he and others, like Jay Leno, started in the 80s when comedy was freer and less scrutinized. He recently wrapped up a 44-city tour, proving he's still one of the hardest working comedians out there.
I use some provocative words, but I tell them it's words I really got from my parents. You know, they said this stuff, and we talked about. I can't even say it here. I can't even point to it. It is an alarming thing for comedians. But my act has really been about family and kids and growing up anyway. But I was going to say, if I do some stuff, the women in my life were, whatever political party it was, always they hated the government. Who's going to pay for it? Yeah. They always argued about that over vodka.
But now every joke gets dissected and every word is put under a microscope. For comedians like Tim, it's a nightmare. He even joked on The View that he'd probably get canceled just for using the same words he heard growing up from his own parents, words that were once harmless, but are now considered provocative. Tim often says the words he uses come straight from what he heard growing up. My parents used to say these things, he explains. Now, I can't even mention them here, and that's pretty alarming for comedians. But Tim's comedy has always focused on family, childhood, and everyday life. He jokes that the women in his life, regardless of political views, always argued about government spending, usually over vodka. Despite the backlash, Tim refuses to back down. Instead, he stands firm, unwilling to sacrifice his integrity just to avoid criticism. That fearless attitude is exactly why Hollywood can't get rid of him, no matter how hard they try. When ABC canceled Last Man Standing, Fox immediately picked it up. Even when Disney replaced him as Buzz Lightyear, Tim didn't flinch. Now he's back on Disney Plus with The Santa Clauses, delivering lines that spark outrage while proving he's not going anywhere. Tim's strong stance against cancel culture remains unchanged. He's openly admitted that while he feels the pressure, he refuses to water down his comedy just to satisfy critics. In one interview, he compared cancel culture to high school, where people are constantly waiting for an excuse to attack over the smallest thing. Tim finds it absurd and often jokes that he'd probably get canceled just for using the same words. His parents did. While cancel culture has made many comedians hesitant to speak freely, Tim refuses to back down. Neither backlash, blacklisting, nor Hollywood's attempts to silence him have stopped his momentum. His determination has made him virtually uncancelable. By staying true to himself, Tim has proven Hollywood wrong and managed to succeed despite the odds. So, what's your take? Is cancel culture blowing Tim Allen's words out of proportion, or is the criticism justified? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out our next one.